Hello, everyone. This is CG Talks, the podcast where CG guys talk about CG and different topics related or loosely related to computer graphics. And today is a starting episode of our new season, and we have a very special guest today with us, who is Lucas Bazyluk, operations manager at GarageFarm.net, and a one-man army of who's a specialist in getting things done. That's how I would describe your person, but maybe you'll be also able to tell us and our audience a little bit more about yourself. And I want to start with a topic that's maybe not so obvious with you, but we'll see how it goes. And I want to talk about design. And design has become such an important element of today's professional world. Like we can clearly point out that this is one of the crucial things that success can't be reached without. And we can observe this in our daily lives, this phenomenon, how much design subconsciously influences our lives, even by opening a fridge, and we can see so much design in it. And not to mention the online world. And your background is more of a managerial kind. And I would like to know, how did you get interested and involved in design work?
Yeah. So by the way, hi everyone. Honored to be here on our own podcast. So I'm happy to be here. So yeah, design. See, I never intended to be a designer, and by no means I don't consider myself a designer. But I kind of stumbled into designing things in the very early day of of Garage Farm. So it was more of being involved than having an interest. I didn't really have any interest in design that was in 2013 when I joined Garage Farm. It wasn't on my radar. I never thought I would be a designer or what even a design was. It just I kind of happened on the job. So I remember, I can tell you the story. I remember it was probably the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, when we didn't have any. Our product was very simple back then. Yeah, we didn't have software like we have right now. For those of you guys who have used Garage Farm, we have like software, we have Render Beamer app, we have plugins, and we have Web Manager. Back then, we didn't have any of that. It was a very different process. I remember we had a very first version of Web Manager. So our lead developer, Darek, he showed me, this website where you can log in, see the jobs and so on. And I saw that interface. I was asked to test it, and this is when I was like, let's improve it. Yeah, like it was so simple, so crude, so raw. I thought, okay, let's improve it. Let's try to change this. This is when I kind of made some suggestions and started like, okay, making sort of mock-ups, if you will, for our very first web manager. And they were very simple, yeah, like basic shapes, simple icons, and that's it, yeah. Simple colors, very, very simple basic colors. And that was it. That was like the first instance of me doing quote unquote design. I didn't even know if I was designing. Yeah, but I guess that's what it was.
So it's kind of like the practical need drove the interest, and there was like a need, and you needed to be the inventor. So you kind of like learned on the battlefront, right?
Yes, exactly. And then after Web Manager happened, there was like a few other things that needed, but didn't need, but I kind of felt I wanted to improve them, right? Like I saw a need and I jumped in. Whenever I saw a need, I jumped in and I, made some, drawing suggestions. Let's try to do it differently. So I remember also our website, old website. You guys have never seen that website, and I'm glad you haven't. But that wasn't the very first website. That was like, let's call it um, version 2 or 2.0. Yeah, 1.0 was very first one our founder Tomek designed, and it was actually a very cool one. You can look it up in the archives, internet archives. I don't remember what that website is. You guys probably can look it up. Yeah, that takes
Hmm.
snapshots of all the websites on the entire internet. So there is one, you can find our old website there. But then we wanted to change it, improve it, and myself together with our founder, we sat together and we designed it to something that was hopefully better than it was previously. But it's still very, very simple. Sometimes if I look back at those designs, I laugh. I laugh at myself. Like they were so amateurish, so
That's
simple.
that's probably the sentiment that every possible designer has for his past works. Like looking back,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's, I think that's an indication of growth, really. If you kind of see what you've done before and then see how much you know now that you didn't know
definitely.
back then. Right.
Definitely. Yes, yes. And I look at those things. There are a few of them. There's website, there's also render beamer UI, there's also Zastop website, 3DB. We've had our um, we had our 3DB product that we created, we built. So I was heavily involved in designing different elements of 3DB as well.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of like watching you in inside that project because we were collaborating then, uh, working on the 3DB store and the app, and I've noticed that you have a especially high focus on small details, like a very big attention to details. I'm talking about this pixel single
Hmm.
pixel accuracy that you're kind of like almost obsessed with.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something like a line is, and I think that's like a trait, mm, maybe very very good for a designer to be really focused on the details that much. But do you find that to be an obstacle or an extra bonus in keeping like the big picture
Mm.
while designing?
Well, I guess that's a tricky one. That's true. I'm obsessed with little details, and I sometimes don't know if they really matter or not. In my head, yes, they're probably the most important thing in the world that there is. But in the eye of a user, right, or the person who's using whatever that thing we are creating, maybe those things don't really matter that much. But it's hard to draw the line or where the line is. But to me, I think I think those little things, they make a good design, to be honest. Because if you don't have those details or you don't have those fundamentals, it's hard to have good design. If you don't have those like little things, I think make up good design in the end. So yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think they get in the way. Of course, you got to be aware that they are there, and maybe you are going too far with being too detail oriented. But I think they matter. Maybe they're not visible. If you ask someone to look at, let's say, a design and say why do you like them, most of people probably wouldn't be able to say why they like them, or maybe they pick some flashy stuff they like. But actually, those little things, I think, make good design, and they're not really visible, but they do, right? Like that's what makes good design, I would say.
Hmm. I would like to also ask you, maybe because you came from a different background and you kind of, as you said, learned because of the need for design in the company, and uh, there were projects that we were involved in and needed to do this design. Did you then follow any kind of additional like training, or where did you get your knowledge, like more
Hmm.
from feedback from other peers, or some other form of education or self education?
Yeah, it's funny because it took me quite a few years to realize I was actually designing things, and I could say, okay, I'm a designer, or decent designer or any sort of designer. Yeah, it took me quite a few years to realize that. And I didn't have any formal background. I was just in the first year, the first few years, I would just read articles, follow blogs, and follow certain people that were interesting to me, and learn from that. Look at other different products and other websites, and see, like, try to learn from them. But it wasn't probably it wasn't until like 2019 when I decided, okay, I want to take it seriously. Let's like kind of formalize this knowledge or whatever that is that I have. I didn't even know what I really had, but let's formalize. Let's see what's out there, and let's try to learn. So I did my research, looked for courses, like different places where we can take like a design course and learn fundamentals of design. And I did find some. So like was beginning of 2019, I guess, where this was when I found design bootcamp course, and that was created by, I don't know if you guys ever heard of School of Motion. They're quite big
Yeah.
right now, but back then I think it was just the beginning for them, probably like a first year of their existence, if I'm not sure. So I took their course. It
Mhm.
was called Design Bootcamp, and I wasn't actually aware what I was doing, because I thought, when I read their website, their landing page, it checked all the boxes, but it turns out it was designed for motion design, not just design as we know it, as I had in
Mhm.
mind, like UI, website, that kind of design. But it was for motion designers who eventually would do motion design, like in After Effects, for example.
Mhm.
So this was like the first step for those people who wanted a career in motion design. I did not know that, so that was a big surprise. And the course was amazing, and at the same time was super intensive, super intense. It wasn't called boot camp without it was called boot camp for a reason. It was literally boot camp. It required you to spend a minimum of 20 hours a week, but for me it took upwards of 30 hours a week every week for 4 months, doing the work, um, watching the videos, creating project, receiving feedback on projects, doing more iterations on projects, and so on and so forth, until I completed. And that was super intense, but I learned a ton in that in that um, in that course.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes, so kind of your path to designing was like, this is like, I think, very much sign of the times, that the like knowledge, if you need it, is available online, and you can reach it while you need it. But the best way to learn is probably, just through practically doing the thing that you want to learn,
definitely,
because that makes you curious, right? And curious, and asking
definitely.
the right questions. Like, you can have so much formal educations as possible, but if you don't really practice what you can learn, this is not really driving any results.
Yeah, and the learning is so much slower then. It goes so much quicker when you can actually put the things you've learned into practice, and have this aha, right, so this is how it works, right? This is how you do it. And then if you receive feedback, like regular feedback and critique from people, that's even better. Yeah, the learning process goes even faster, speeds up the learning curve. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I must say that, working with 3DB on a 3DB project, I was really impressed. Like, right now, knowing that you had like this kind of path towards design, I say this is like a super successful way of, because you were like designing very, in a way that's like driving results, and doing, we were involved in designing very successful products that are like managing online, and it seems that the users enjoy using them.
Well,
So
yeah, thanks for saying that. But when I look at I have to like be honest. I'm always trying to be honest with myself. it could have been so much better, to be honest.
Yeah, but isn't that always the case? It can always, and
Yeah.
that just leads me to another two questions. Like, what would you consider your biggest success so far as a designer?
Well. As a part-time hobbyist designer, yeah. It's probably hard to say. I have probably one that hasn't been even released, implemented yet, because I've redesigned our web manager. It was I actually did it like a year, almost a year ago, when I finished it or started working on and kind of finished. But because we right now are kind of busy with building our software, the features and bugs and stuff like that, we couldn't actually implement that design, so it's still waiting there. But I think that's the one I'm most proud of, because it's the whole system. It's not like one page or like one thing. Is the whole system. So I have the colors, I have all the different type of headings, different buttons, how they should look like, right? What they should say, the sizing and everything like that. All the different views of web manager in different situations. Like it's probably the most thorough design I have done to this date, and still feel I could do more if I spend more time on it. Just I really don't have time, because design it requires a lot of time.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like software development. It's never finished. It's just like you decide that this is the point where I call it done.
Yeah. Where is that point exactly?
Yeah, which version? 2.2, 3.0.
Exactly.
Whatever.
You can keep iterating and keep improving. That's so true. So I decided, okay, this is enough for that moment. I call it finished. But then I sometimes open the project and say, oh, this should be done differently. Now that I know, a little bit more, and also took time away from the project, because it's very helpful, by the way, taking time away from the project. I've looked at it with a fresh eye, and it's like, okay, probably I could improve it again. But yeah, time.
Okay, so it seems like you're passionate about the almost current project that we were working on, and that's like your best so far. So it seems like you're moving forward all the time. And the next question would be, if you were to be involved in a design dream project of yours, like what would it be? And I mean, just letting your imagination go wild and just thinking about what would be that dream design project that you would like to do.
Listen, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because I still don't consider myself like a a designer. This isn't my profession, right? I do it because there's a need for it. I do have, let's say, ability to do it, but I still kind of don't consider it a profession. So it would be, don't spend much time thinking about design these days. But dream project, probably something that revolves around my interests, like deep interest, the interest that that I have. Maybe a game that I really like. If I could get involved with the game and maybe creating like a UI for the game, that would be something cool. And that game could be, I have actually, there's this game I've been playing for 23 years now. Quite a long time.
That's a long. And it's game love affair.
Yeah, never. I don't think it will ever end. It's the RTS genre. I don't know if you wanna give it a guess. I don't know if you play or have played RTS games.
Yeah, I did. Back then when I had time for it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's StarCraft from Blizzard. So this is the game I just fell in love on the very first day I opened the game. That was in 1998.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
I've
guess
been
you're not
playing that
alone.
game.
You're not alone in that love. I know a bunch of people who's like super
Yeah,
StarCraft fans up till that day today. Like
yeah, yeah,
meeting together with friends to play it and stuff like that.
and
So
and listen, this is maybe hard to believe, but yeah, this game is actually still doing well. There are still events and esport, like there's esport around that game still. The game which has 20, which is 23 years old. So yeah,
yeah,
it's still a kind of thriving, strong community around that game. So if I could do like get involved in designing something for like an interface or part of the website maybe for the game, that probably would be very like I would be I would be thrilled. Yeah.
great. Yeah, and like what you said about StarCraft is, I think, proving that like good design, whatever it is, like game design or UI design, good design just lives long. That's the story of
Good.
StarCraft, I guess.
Yeah. Good. It's just, in my opinion, it's the best RTS game out there.
Right.
Period.
So